just every touch, every, sliding the sheet from like the top of my body, like all the way down my body, like over my butt and like off and like down my legs and like off of the feet and onto the floor. It was just like so dramatic and so hot. Welcome back to Open Late Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Sfandiari, and this week I'm going to be talking to you about an erotic couples massage that I experienced in Mexico a few months ago. I've been dying to talk about this. I can't believe it's taken me this long to record this episode, but life. So, long story short, Pasha and I were in Mexico a few months back for a friend's wedding, and it just so happened to be down the street from a resort that we have looked at before and thought about going to, but we never pulled the trigger because, frankly, we're like, do we really want to invest the time, the money, the energy into a place that we don't know we're going to like? And I imagine if you're listening to the show, maybe you've considered going to one of these before and had the exact same thoughts, feelings, whatever. But we found like ourselves being like, we're right down the street. This seems silly. And we actually like had time to spare in between two trips. So we're like, okay, this is kind of perfect. So we decided to go for just 2 nights, 3 days, because we were like, we'll dip our toes in. If we don't like it, it's not that much time. And it's in a beautiful part of Mexico on the East Coast. It's a beachfront property and it's a very nice property too. Like the food is good, the rooms are nice. We checked in, everything went really smooth. They're explaining to you what this resort entails. When you check in, they're like, okay, we're going to go over the rules and the boundaries because this is an adults only, couples only, clothing optional resort where there are spaces that you can play in public. Okay. So, of course, we get in, we check in, and there's a whole conversation around consent, what that looks like, enthusiastic consent and informed consent, which that is a whole other episode we could do a deep dive on. And I've also written a blog about it. So I will link it in the show notes if you are curious about those ideas. But let's get back to Mexico. So we check in, we get our talk. This isn't anything new to either of us because we've been to play parties, we've been to, sex clubs in Europe, we've been to Burning Man, which is a very big consent heavy culture. And so we're like, okay, yep, we've, nothing new here. And we get a tour of the property. So the entire property is clothing optional outside. You have to wear something in the restaurants, which like people do not leave much to the imagination anyway in these spaces. And then they pointed out the two areas where play is welcome, accepted, celebrated, encouraged. And they were around the jacuzzi area, like next to the pool. And also, they have a nightclub space, and there was a little room on the right side of that club. Well, it wasn't a little room, it was a nice size room. And it was really cool because I liked that there were those designated spaces for people to play in, and it wasn't just happening like all over the resort. So if you like wanted to be more involved in something like that, you would go to those spaces, but they were tucked away. And I thought that was like really nice and elevated the experience a lot because for us, we weren't super interested in playing with other people unless it felt like perfect and the mood struck. We were really just going to check it out to connect more with each other. This whole year, I think, our kind of intention is to really connect with each other before we bring our children into this world. And we really just wanted to spend time together but be able to express ourselves in, a nudity or even our public displays of affection or sexuality, which we had done once before. So we went and just did a day pass once in California. There's a property in Palm Desert where it's the same kind of vibe, but you can play anywhere. And we ended up like having sex very openly in public. There was hardly anybody there that day. And when I say like hardly anybody, there were like 6 people there. I think we were 2 of them. But we really loved that experience. So we're like, okay, we know we'll enjoy doing this. And we really just wanted to be with each other. So I'm kind of giving you the rundown of like our intention of going and what the first day was like once we got the tour. So we get the tour, we see the places where you can sort of hook up if you want to with other people. And you are certainly allowed to like be affectionate in other spaces, but if you're going to start like doing anything that's more sensual or sexual, they want you to go to those spaces or go back to your room. So that was day one. We hung out by the pool. It was so fun to be able to be just like completely nude in the sun, swimming or on the beach. That was awesome. Day two, we decide to get this erotic couples massage, which was sort of the main event for us. We found out about it when we were checking in because, Pasha and I, as soon as we check in anywhere, Pasha wants to see the spa menu and like book massages right away. So they tell us that they have an erotic couples massage experience. And we were like, that sounds incredible. We've never done anything like that together. So we were like, this sounds perfect. This really fits the bill for what we want to be doing while we're here. And they ask you, would you like male therapists, female therapists, one of each? So you get to choose. I chose a male therapist. Pasha chose a female therapist. And the spa is beautiful. They do a foot bath before, they bring you into the massage room. And it's funny, they asked about like, your body and your like pain points or whatever you wanted, because the massage was not to like work out any of the kinks in my back. It was more to work out the kinks in my mind, if you will. But there was a tiny bit of like nice pressure around the head and neck when we first started, but then it became much more sensual, like from the jump, maybe like 10 minutes of an actual massage of the neck and the back. And then it was a lot of light touching, slow and intentional. Like it was such an art form, actually, I have to say. Whoever creates this experience or does the training for these therapists, like just every touch, every, sliding the towel, or not the towel, but the sheet from like the top of my body, like all the way down my body, like over my butt and like off and like down my legs and like off of the feet and onto the floor. It was just like so dramatic and so hot. And like, so they do touch you in your like private parts, whatever, but they're not touching you with their hands. They're using feathers and material, like which felt like silk, and kind of just like running it over the places of your body. Which was, I felt so, so hot. And even at one point, like my therapist came down and like started to breathe by my ear and my neck, which for me, like my neck and the top of my back, forget it. This is like, yeah, like this area in general, I'm a goner. So anyway, there's this whole build up, and the experience is 90 minutes. And they tell you actually that they're going to leave you alone in the room for an additional half hour post the 90 minutes. So it's 2 hours that you book this room for. And the room also has a jacuzzi in it. I forgot to tell you. So they like put hot water and bubbles in the jacuzzi. They even give you a bottle of champagne, which we weren't drinking at the time. It was fine. I was like, can I have hot tea? And they were like, okay. But they get you all worked up, kind of gliding over, my pussy with like the feather, and go like, who only knows what they're doing to Pasha because I have a mask on. But the music is hot. Everything is just like, this is amazing. And then eventually I feel like my bed is moving. The massage bed is actually like scooting, and it's actually started to make noise. It was like scooting across the floor, so that it actually became like connected with Pasha's bed. And I'm like, oh, they just like put us next to each other. Next thing I know, my massage therapist, is rolling me like towards Pasha, and like our faces start to touch. And it's like, oh, okay, they like want us to start making out. So we do. And then, like, my hand finds him very easily. Although I think like they would have probably made me grab him meaning his dick. And we're like full on making out. And like he is rock hard. I'm so rearing to go. I'm like, they're gonna probably leave the room now and leave us alone. That's like what it's intended for. That's why they tell you we're gonna leave you alone for a half hour after. But they didn't leave yet. They literally like put me on top of him, like kind of like rolled me onto him and like on top of him and like proceeded to keep massaging my shoulders while I mounted him and started to like ride him. And we like were joking after because like the way that I was being massaged and like I think the Pasha's massage therapist was still like massaging his legs. And so if like you imagine I'm on top of him, he's under me, he's having his like legs massaged and pushed. I'm having my like neck massaged and pushed. For those of you that are not watching the YouTube, you're missing this with all my hand gestures of what this looks like. But like they were essentially like pushing also and like massaging in the direction that obviously is creating the force and the friction. It does not take me long to come because just it never does in general, but also I'm like super turned on in this experience and it's so hot. And there are these two people in the room who aren't really touching us at all. It's not like we're having a foursome. They're like fully clothed in their like spa massage gear, but they fucked us. Like they like physically like fucked us. This is what we said after we were like giggling and laughing like kids after they left. We were like, "Oh my god, they like fucked us without fucking us." They were anyway. This is going to make it one hell of a reel. I'm not going to post this because Instagram do not like these words. Anyway, it was super hot. We like obviously have this incredible climax experience after this relaxing sensual build up. And we do with them in the room. And then gently they kind of like back out, whispering, like, enjoy the hot tub. You have another 30 minutes. Like, we'll come get you. And we were just like on these massage beds. Like, did this just happen? I've never heard of anything like this. Of course, I've heard of erotic massage done like from every range from like professionally to going to get like a happy ending, which people do. And I've just never heard the details of one being so, intentional and elevated. Needless to say, very happy, 5 stars. Um, and yeah, we kind of like got in the hot tub. Well, we showered first, and then we got in the hot tub and just like relaxed. And we were just like, this is incredible. Like these people are saints. They're doing God's work over here. I can't say enough about it. I mean, I'm not going to yelp about it because I don't know that you can. There's they probably don't want that, but this resort was incredible, if only for that reason. And it was super cool. We ended up they have like these really incredible shows at this place too, where like every night there's performances, like Cirque du Soleil level, like silks, aerialists, acrobats, like gymnasts, and they're all hot. All the acts are way more sensual than usual. And we went to go watch, and we ended up sitting next to a couple, just like chatting them up. It was their second time at this resort, but they had also had the couples massage that day. So we were like comparing notes and talking about how much we really enjoyed it. Yeah, so I've been dying to share it here and to really let people know that these types of experiences are available to you and your partner. And this is a way for you to experience this level of eroticism and excitement without like actually opening your relationship. Pasha and I didn't hook up with anybody else on that trip. And maybe some people listening to this might be like, well, that's not, monogamy if there were two people in the room that were there while you were having sex. But essentially, like they were providing a service that was very erotic and sensual, but not sexual, actually. And, there's a lot of talk these days about hot monogamy, which I love so much. If you listen to the show, I'm a huge fan of intentional monogamy. When you choose rather than just slide into your relationship dynamics, I'm a fucking fan of that. Like if you're actively choosing your monogamy, amazing. And hot monogamy, just quickly, is a term used for when you are monogamous, but you are not pretending other people like aren't attractive to you or don't turn you on, or you're not going to stop watching porn. In fact, you like bring your partner into those experiences and you're just honest about them. So I would classify this experience under like monogamy still. Sure, we were nude. Sure, we were at a adults only resort where people could be, full on exhibitionists, like hooking up and having sex around us. And yeah, we got an erotic massage, but we were still very monogamous this entire trip. And so I love to just plant these little seeds for people to expand their horizons. And if you have been to a place like this, I want to know. I want to know about your experience. Let's compare notes. Don't hesitate to write in. There's a million ways to connect with us. Just hop on our website and you will find our email address if you want to share a story of your own. I love to feature stories on the show. And I have had guests before on the show that actually just wrote in and were like, I would love to be on the show. We want to like share our experience. So that might be you if you're feeling frisky. And even if you were like, hey, this was confronting and you have a different viewpoint than me, share that too, because I'm here for it. I hope you learned something from this today. And if it turned you on a little bit, I'm okay with that too. And I will see you all next week. So much love. Don't forget to subscribe to the show. Bye.